let's get right to it. And I want to start with Hannah. And Hannah, there we go. Hannah, what has been one of the most difficult aspects of explaining to the public what human trafficking is? Because I've had people say, well, ain't that, when you pay your girl for money here to I was like, no, that's not what it is. No. So what's been the hardest thing, or can you kind of explain as an officer, what is human trafficking?
I think one of the really tough things about human trafficking is that there's a lot of misconceptions about human trafficking, and it gets mixed up with a lot of other things. It gets mixed up with kidnapping, it gets mixed up with smuggling, it gets mixed up in a lot of other crimes, when actually it's this penal code and the is very, very specific. So if you're trying to really simplify what human trafficking is, it's easiest to remember it as it's any children who are in the sex industry. So it's any kids who are under the age of 18 who are working as sex workers, as strippers. I never like using the term prostitute because they're kids. No kid can be a prostitute, right? Because you can't consent to that. But any kids who are in the sex industry, whether or not they're forced to be there, often they believe they want to be there because their boyfriend is their pimp or something like that. So any children in the sex industry, that's trafficking. Any children or adults who are forced into any kind of labor is labor trafficking. So whether that's cleaning restaurants or homes or working in the fields or maid services or any number of things, taking care of elderly parents, any adults or children who are forced or tricked into some sort of labor is labor trafficking, and any adults forced or tricked into prostitution is a sex trafficking. So basically, to sum it up, and I want to make sure this is really clear because this is going to really direct how you guys understand human trafficking. You have sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Labor trafficking is any adults or children forced or tricked or frauded into some sort of labor. And then sex trafficking is any adults or children who are forced or tricked into prostitution, except for children, there's no elements of force needed because they're children, right? You can't consent to commercial sex as a child. This is a little bit easier if I have a PowerPoint or something and I can point and walk around and stuff. But does that kind of make sense? Sex and labor, and anyone who's forced. Hopefully this keeps. Yeah, I can yell really loud if we need to, so it's no problem. Being a police officer does have its advantages sometimes. So, what we have to remember is that children in the sex industry, no matter what, are trafficking victims. And that's what I think gets missed a lot of the time. And it's not just people who are kidnapped or brought over the border or anything like that, which actually happens a little less than you would think. Almost all of the sex trafficking cases that I work here in Fort Worth are kids from DFW being trafficked in DFW. So it's very, very much a local issue. So we can go way more into that. I have a 16-hour class on human trafficking, so I talk fast, but I don't talk that fast. So we're going to leave it at that for human trafficking.
Thank you. And another thing is our agriculture commissioner, Sid Miller. A big part of it too is also when you see them on farms as well, all the way around to Chicago. People don't realize that, but our agriculture industry has that problem as well with labor trafficking. People don't really think about that, but that's something that we have to clean up too.